But you have people out of the country who cannot come home. They cannot come, they're stateless.
Finally, the Express is being fair and printing the truth.
We should be having trials, starting and finishing in 120 days.
What have you done to protect women and girls?
It must tell us that something is wrong.
This is Alibaba and 40 thieves in charge of Trinidad and Tobago today.
Pleasant good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. Pleasant good day to the UNC family, our listeners locally, internationally, regionally. Good day to you, Honorable Political Leader. Blessed afternoon to you also. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to go back a bit to a live that I did last week. That live had to do with the switching of the Point 14 Hospital, General Hospital, to an emergency COVID-19 institution. And of course, I highlighted the seriousness in which the Southwestern Peninsula, all the way from Brea to Icacos, some of the consequences that would be before the citizens in relation to seeking health care, especially in terms of an emergency, whether it be from a cardiac standpoint or whether it be from an asthmatic standpoint or any form of emergency, a pain you taking with a major accident that people will need assistance, emergency assistance, you have to find your way all the way to Brea or all the way to San Fernando. I also emphasize to you that Brea can only deal with stabilization, and the best bet for you is to head to San Fernando, where you will have a better chance of surviving whatever that emergency may be. But going into this, I found some documents within my mailbox, and a note accompanying these documents asking me to highlight some of these serious situations that is now facing the medical practitioners in that Point 14 facility, as well as nurses, members of staff. So I would just like to go through them with you before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's proceedings. And this document that I found in my mailbox this morning, this one said, Southwest Regional Health Authority, Nursing Administration, PFH, which is acronym for Point 14 Health Facility, Memorandum. It says to all nursing staff, from Miss Betty Ann Murray John, Nursing Manager, PFH, dated May 17, 2021. It states, subject, temporary change in working hours. It goes on to say, reference is made to the subject at caption. This memo is to inform you that due to the current state of emergency, curfew and COVID-19 crisis, a change of shift has become necessary to facilitate staff and to facilitate staff safety. Please note, 12-hour shift of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. would be implemented with effect of this memo. State of emergency are covered under Section 712 of the Constitution. These provides of public emergency. It went on to say, are one of the exceptions to the fundamental human rights and freedom guarantee under the Constitution. It says accommodation are being made to provide shelter for staff who are living in rural areas and desire to stay in-house after shift. Additionally, there would also be restroom assigned for staff to take their 2-hour rest/break. Staff who would require accommodation are asked to inform their supervisors so same can be arranged. It further states, again, staff is advised to uphold proper PPE regulation and stay safe during this trying time. I would like to commend you for all your hard work and cooperation. Please be guided accordingly. Your partner in health, Mrs. Betty Ann Murray John, Nurse Manager, Point 14 Facility. So, ladies and gentlemen, this piece of document that I found in my mailbox this morning state that nurses and staff will be required to work at 12-hour shift upon receipt of this document. So upon receipt of this memorandum, staff, nurses, they are expected to conform to a 12-hour shift. So we'll get into this one just now. Second piece of document found in my mailbox. Southwest Regional Health Authority Memorandum to all members of staff. This one is from Chief Executive Officer, dated August 24, 2020. Right, we're in 2021. August 24, 2020. This document said, subject update on payment of increments and arrears of increments. In my last communication to you on July 21st, 2020, I give the undertaking that arrears of increments would have been paid in 2 tranches, which the first being made by the end of July 2020. To this end, SWHRA has paid 35% of arrears of increments to 1,911 employees. A further 35% will be paid in September 2020, and a final 30% will be paid upon the completion of our audit process, which is currently ongoing. I express my sincere appreciation to all members of staff for your patience at this time as we seek to address these matters pertaining to your award of increments and payment of arrears owed to you. This one states, with thanks, your partner in health, Dr. Brian Amor, Chief Executive Officer. That's 2. We're going to deal with that just now. Third piece. Southwest Regional Health Authority Memorandum to all members of staff from Chief Executive Officer dated March 12, 2021. Subject payment of increment arrears for eligible permanent members of staff. Further to my previous memorandum relating to the captioned subject, I wish to inform that the SWHRA is no longer in a position to honor the financial tranche of arrears by the 31st of March 2021, as previously projected. This is deeply regretted. Rest assured, we remain committed to our staff welfare and is therefore working to have this situation rectified in the shortest period possible. It is therefore projected that this payment should be made on or before September 30th, 2021. The authority thanks all staff for their patience and forbearance during this exercise. With thanks, your partner in health, Brian Amor, Doctor, Chief Executive Officer. Ladies and gentlemen, as we go through these three pieces of document, memorandums that was sent to the staff members at the Point 14 COVID health facility prior the Point 14 General Hospital. And I will tell you why this was sent to me when I go through this last document. These individuals, these members of staff, first to begin, a 12-hour shift was instituted without any form of dialogue between staff and executive. So this memorandum states that a 12-hour shift will start upon the staff receiving this memorandum, and therefore thus it did. Secondly, this other document states that increments were to be paid since in July 2020 to the same members of staff at this Point 14 health facility. To date, the CEO is now telling members of staff that, look, we cannot fulfill, the government cannot fulfill the commitment to pay you your money by this time, and we further going to put a fresh date, which is September 30th, 2020, where this money will be paid. Remember, we are talking 2020 to 2021. 8 months of promises to the health workers, our frontline workers, and to date, our staff at the Point 14 facility still remains without their monies, and even without the monies, further strain is being placed on them. So let's get down to a little seriousness now. So this one, Brian Amor said that, look, we're sorry we couldn't meet the deadline, but we're setting a new deadline, which is September 30th, and let's see how it works from there. But I want to come into this document now. This document here that I have before me, I want you to understand the conditions that our frontline workers now face in the Point 14 facility. This COVID facility, I want you to recognize the additional stress that is being placed on our healthcare workers in Point 14. I don't know if it's because Point 14 is deep south that they show no type of respect and regards for the health workers within the deep south as they will do with other areas. But Minister Diyal Singh have to answer some questions in relation to this Point 14 staff and the Point 14 facility. So out of all this, ladies and gentlemen, another document that was found in my mailbox, I want to ask Terence Diyal Singh if he had instructed Brian Amor, the CEO of the Point 14 facility, to institute these measures that I am now going to bring to the public domain. Measure number 1, these health workers are now placed in a makeshift tent. Listen me carefully. I don't know if my brother have it and he will put it up. But these health workers, look the tent here, leave it there, brother. These health workers, they are now placed. When we read this document, and it states that a place is being prepared for them to take their 2 hours rest. It says accommodation are being made to provide shelter for staff who are living in rural areas and desire to stay in-house after shift. Additionally, there would also be a rest room assigned for staff to take their 2 hours rest. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the accommodation that is now placed at the Point 14 facility for our healthcare workers, those who live in rural areas. This is the facility that the minister of health, together with the chief executive officer, this is the facility that they place for our frontline healthcare risk-taking workers to rest in after they complete a 12-hour shift. Those who live in far will stay in this facility and then come back out to work. In addition to that, leader facility right there, producer. In addition to that, there is a temporary washroom that is set up. A matter of fact, my information now tells me that this week, 1 bathroom facility was put in place to accommodate these healthcare workers before it was park disposal that they had to use. So now 1 washroom is put in place for all our healthcare workers to use while they put their life at risk to see about high-risk patient within a facility that is now being transferred into a COVID-19 emergency facility. I know some of you critics and some of you stereotype individuals. Those of you who support that party on the other side, I know the first thing you all will say is that, oh gosh, is a temporary facility and therefore let the nurses and them use what is available until better can be done. You will say that. You may even text that on social media. But these are professionals that put in their life at risk, who cannot get their increments, who working tirelessly night and day to see about your mother, about your father, about your brother, about your sister, about your husband, and about your wife. And these are the accommodation that the ministry have in place for our healthcare workers to rest in. Added to that, I want to ask the CEO if he, by the advice of Terence Singh, had brought another document, another memorandum for the nurses and the staff to sign. And that document is saying that these health workers at the Point 14 facility, that they must now sign this document agreeing not to talk to any media personnel, whether it be print media or television houses, that they must not speak to any journalists in relation to what is taking place in Point 14. I want to tell the minister, D.L. Singh, and this Brian Amor, that while there is oaths of secrecy in relation to revealing patients' information, you cannot dictate to our nurses if they are not satisfied with the condition in which you have them to live in, that they mustn't speak out against it. We are not going to accept that type of dictatorship. within our health sector. We will not tolerate that. Added to that, I want to ask Brea if there is other correspondence that debar nurses and staff from taking any type of devices into the hospital. In other words, no phone, no tablets, nothing that can be recorded, nothing that can be used as a recording device. I am asking you if you have now banned that from nurses and staff from entering into the hospital. Added to that, I want to ask the CEO. I want to ask the CEO what is meant by our healthcare workers not being allowed to have an N95 mask. I want to ask Brian Amor, what is going on in Point Fortin Hospital, where the nurses and staff, they must use an ordinary mask to go and deal with high-risk patients in relation to this COVID-19 pandemic. I want to ask the health minister, where is the money from the HSF fund that y'all took out to prepare full PPE for our healthcare workers to be protective while they put their life at risk to see both our mother and our father? I am saying that this is absolute madness in Point Fortin. What you talking about? That the N95 masses must not be distributed to our healthcare professionals, to our first responders, to our men and women who placing their life on the line to see about our parents in this state. I think that all you have to be mad in this place. I also want to ask another question. Apart from that, why it is every time a nurse or a staff requests a mask, not only they must sign for it, but they have to give account of what they do with it? Mr. Brian Amor, always mad people. I want to ask another question. I want to ask if there is another memorandum which states that if one of our healthcare workers in Point Fortin come in contact with a COVID patient and believe that their health can be compromised, I am hearing that there is a document that's stating that they cannot be swabbed without your approval. Is that true, Mr. Brian Amor? That our healthcare workers, if they believe that they have been exposed to this coronavirus, that y'all are saying that in order for them to be swabbed, you must first give that approval, and if they went on to be swabbed behind the CEO back, that monies will be deducted from their salaries. Is that true, Mr. CEO? I am asking a question. Is that true, Mr. CEO? If that is true, I am saying that we are in a serious state. And not only so, apart from the 10 ventilators that is in the ICU, I understand that the burn unit will also be turned into an ICU area. My question to you, that if this hospital has the capacity for 69 patients, I am saying, what is the position, the 10 ventilators that we now have in Point 14 to take care of whether it be 69 or more beds? My question to you, Mr. Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Terence Dialsing, how many more ventilators will be going to Point 14? Is this the reason why our parents are dying so quickly? Is this the reason why we continue to lose our loved ones? Because these facilities are not adequately outfitted with the necessary life-saving apparatus to save the lives of our citizens. Is this what is taking place in the health sector at this time? After we have taken out billions of dollars from our HSF fund under the disguise of COVID-19 relief. Today we are speaking about renting ventilators. Today we are speaking about makeshift tents to accommodate our frontline workers. Today we are speaking about the stress and strain that our health professionals continue to endure under this pandemic. This is not no jokey matter. Our doctors, our nurses, our administrative staff, they are under severe pressure. They are under pressure day and night. A matter of fact, in Point 14, there is sometimes one nurse to 20 and 25 patients. This is not an exaggeration. This is reality. There is in some cases, there is one nurse to 20 and 25 patients. These nurses have to exercise the patients. These nurses have to feed those patients. These nurses have to do everything for these patients simply because people are panicking. People are afraid. Our nurses, just like our police officers, should be paid, a matter of fact, upfront, because they work today and they ensure to live to see tomorrow. That is the reality of our health sector. We have had doctors who lose their lives, not by their own negligence, but by the discharging of their duties. On behalf of this country, we have lost nurses. Who knows how many more we may lose, or a matter of fact, we may lose. Who knows? These people put their best out day and night under stress and strain, under fatigue. They put out, they fight a battle that you, Terence Dialsing, ain't putting on a mask and going near them facility and see about a patient. You, Mr. CMO, you ain't putting on a mask. You, Mr. Chief Executive Officer, you will manage from your fancy office and your nice reclining chair, your rock back. How is my nurses doing today down at Point 14? Sipping something nice or drinking something hot. To the end of the day, Our healthcare professionals continue to suffer. And all you're talking about, don't put politics in the ward. Let me tell you something, Mr. Hitler. Mr. Prime Minister Hitler, let me tell you something. This is not about putting politics in the ward. This is about making sure our healthcare workers are properly well taken care of. You and the minister have a job to do. And I suggest that all do all the job or resign. Because all they have failed this health sector. All they failed the citizens already. We're not going to tolerate all the failing our professionals. Especially where they're putting their life on the line. I am going to raise this subject in point 14 every Thursday until some document come in my mailbox saying that the matter were addressed. Pay the people the money. Let them enjoy the benefits. Faris Al-Wari family collecting the rent when the month come. Millions of dollars. Them collecting. A matter of fact, before the month come, money in the bank for them. You hear what I'm saying? Call them in boat. Plaza, full speed ahead. Picton. If you get a chance, you buy the whole of Picton. And I know hearing about some alleged house down the islands. Stuart Young family, contract upon contract. Billions of dollars going. So what happened to my nurses? What happened to my doctors? What happened to my medical staff? What happened to the people who want to see about me if I get COVID? What happened to them? Pay the people the money. Get a proper facility for my nurses and point. We have so much our office containers. Equip air condition, toilets, bath, everything. What are they doing putting my nurses in a tent? In a tent? And when they do catch yourself, the rent for that tent will worth plenty more than what all your owe the nurses. When they do hear about the rent for that tent, pay our frontline workers and put proper accommodation for them to be comfortable with the 2 hours rest. Okay? So I rest in this case for now. I am asking, do not allow any more documents to come in my mailbox. It have 4 more points here that I ain't raising yet. I want a little bit more clarification on 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I get that clarification, somebody in the health sector will swing for corruption. Hold on. So I rest in this point 14 issue for now. Let me take a little water and let us start the thing. Right. So you prostituted your daughter. You prostituted your daughter's debt with opposition politicians. And now you're coming to play caring father. All of you to DAME, racial. My mother does want to slap me in my mouth for them words. But she tell me about saying it. She never tell me I can't spell it. Ladies and gentlemen, a high-ranking member of Hitler Party a strong supporter of Hitler himself. Hitler also screened this woman for the Port of Spain South seat. This woman was a prospective candidate for that same seat, Port of Spain South. This individual, ladies and gentlemen, this woman, when I saw this post on Facebook, and I look at the nasty, racial, disgusting, disrespectful, dishonorable thing that this woman said on social media, it didn't only crawl the blood in my vein, but I want to understand what kind of human beings that is inside of that party that Hitler leads. That party, ladies and gentlemen, that Hitler now leads from 1956 throughout thick and thin, we in this country had to put up with this kind of racial position that high-ranking members that belongs to Hitler Party continue to perpetrate against this nation. A matter of fact, every time Hitler back against the wall, this is the card that he threw on the table. We have another agent of Hitler, a Rastaman. And what he does is that he portrays the real significance of that party that Hitler lead. That party, ladies and gentlemen, that continue to disrespect people, that continue to degrade Indian people in this country. I am saying that the Indian people who is a part of that party, they themselves have no shame. Because I want to know that if these Indians who belongs to that Hitler party, if they don't understand that when these racial remarks and these degrading remarks is made in relation to Indian people, I want to understand if they believe that they are exempted. I want to know if they believe that they are exempted. When these idiots speak, they don't speak for UNC Indian, you know. They speak for Indian on a whole. You know why? Because of that evil that flow within their veins, because of the evil that is within their mindset, because of their thinking, because of their thoughts, and because of their way of life. They themselves, they are racist. That is what these hierarchy agents within the Women's League of Hitler Army, that is what they perpetrate, because that is who they are. And when you will relax and know, well, politics plays out in different ways, you could listen to some of these spokesperson for that party. And let me tell you something, they have no class, none whatsoever. They could never match up the integrity that we portray in relation to our discourse when coming to politics. Not one day they can put their hand or say Victor Roberts, Anel Roberts, or any other who speak within and behalf of the UNC. They could never one day put their hand and say that man is a racist, or that man speaks race against us. You know what we do on this side, in this UNC? What we do, we educate you idiots. That is what we do. You idiotic spokesperson who believe that when you sit on a radio station or you get the opportunity to talk on social media, you could bring down another race to satisfy your own selfish, no ambition self. Let me tell you something. We rise above you. We will never go down there, because we saw unity, we saw strength, we saw what you don't have, integrity. And that is why I am not expecting none of them in Hitler army to come out and speak against this position of this individual. I will not expect Faris Alwari to come out and denounce that statement that is being made by Hitler good friend. I will not expect Stuart Young to come out and denounce that statement that is made by this idiot. I will not expect Foster Cummins to come out and speak and distance themselves and the party from that statement. That will never happen. I will not expect Shamfa Kojo to come out and distance herself from that statement. Neither would I expect Hitler himself, who lead in that party, to come out and denounce that statement. You know why? Old people always say that birds of a feather do everything together. You put in where you want. Birds of a feather do everything together. And I have no qualms whatsoever believing that this statement is a position that the Hitler army has taken. I have no problem in believing that. You know why? I live long enough in this Trinidad and Tobago to see the behavior of Hitler, of the Minister of National Security, of the Minister of Energy now, of the Attorney General. Because I'm going to tell you something, the rest of the MPs in that army, doesn't really hear about them, They come like the mat. They come like the boys that you wipe your foot on when you go up to meet the big boys. So I ain't expecting nothing more from them. But I do think I did had a thought that a woman like Mrs. Beckers would have come out and distanced herself from that statement simply because she was also a part of that funeral. I also thought that Brian Manning, seeing that I look at Beckers and Manning as the two persons within that Hitler organization that have some level of sanity, I believe that these two individuals would have come out and denounce that statement, separate themselves from that statement, and separate their constituency. Because they don't have the authority to separate the party from that statement. But they have the authority to separate themselves and their constituency from this wicked, evil, diabolical cesspit, latrine statement that this idiot placed on social media. This idiot placed on social media. And to help you understand who is that idiot is Julia Davy. I want you to understand. That is the woman who talk about jumping Kamala friends and deal with them and do this to Anna Roberts and do that to that and this to that. And to the end of the day, I never hear the police reach by she yet and question her. I never hear an interview take place. The only thing I hear close to that is that they lock up some son or something or whatever the case may be. But when you have these individuals who screen for a national party, it tells you the direction in which the party going. It tells you the ideology of a party. Because if a party will not condemn an evil diabolical statement that is being made, a racial statement along those lines, and not even Hitler will come out and distance himself and that party from this statement, it tells you that that birds of a feather do everything together. That is where we at in this country. I look at Africa and I ask myself, how come a continent that is so rich in minerals, you could get gold, ruby, diamond, pearl, name it, Africa have it. And I always wonder how it is Africa is what it is today. So what I did, I decided to go back to some history. And everybody always saying, especially Emancipation Day, everybody dress up in the dashiki and the big gong and the headpiece and they walk and they boast, I'm an African and that's my motherland and so on. Well, let me tell you something. My motherland is St. Vincent. Me, I no motherland in Africa. My motherland is in St. Vincent. There she come from. But you know why I understand? I understand why it is the majority of you in this country claim to Africa as your motherland. Africa have treated their own African brother and sister in the worst way possible. I go back and look at some history in Africa where they take a whole tribe, they dig one big pit and throw everybody down inside there, cover them alive. I go back and see some history with all your motherland where they take another tribe, They place tires around them and set them afire individually. I see how African hate their own African brother. And that is why today I am trying to help you to come out from that African belief that you have. Because that African belief that you have, that you want to perpetrate, that you want to hold your head high up. If you get down, a matter of fact, if you go Africa, boy, they take you and they make fireside. They make fireside with you. You go Africa and say, I am African. And see if somebody in bubbling a pot with your skull. See if they ain't putting firewood in your eye and your nose. After they open a hole on your head for fire to come up to cook the food. I now understand why all you behave so in Trinidad. Because all you ain't understand yet who you really are. You look at the Africans in this country. See who is the African downfall in this country. All you feel is the Indian. All you feel the Indian is our downfall. The Indians is not our downfall in Trinidad and Tobago. Our downfall in Trinidad and Tobago is we own African brother and sister. That is our enemy. You go back. Watch it in every form. Watch your African government that is being led by Hitler. And the only thing left for him to do is to put all you on buses, drive all you up Matlot or somewhere Maracas and drive them bus over the precipice with all you. That is the last thing leave for all your prime minister to do to all you. You know why? They do everything to keep you in chains. They keep you in chain with every decision they make. They take away everything to move you up the ladder. All your shame, all you can't take it. That is why all you rebel. That is why all you don't even care about all your own children. Let me tell you how wicked some of all you is as parents. All you so wicked and evil that I will tell all you today. All you didn't have anything. All you make use of nothing. And all you growing up all your children in this country with the same attitude. Nothing. Some of you 500 years old and all you still renting. Some of you 1,000 years old, all you still in a plyboard shack. Still in a plyboard shack. Some of you 2,000 years old. And when rain fall, you have to run with the long time thing they call the posy or the basin to put it to catch water that coming through the roof. All you can't take that because it's the truth. My question to all you, who have all you there? The Indian? The Indians have all you there? The Indians didn't have all you there. It's all your own black people. All your own government from 1956 that have all your there. It's all your 1956 government that have all your in that condition. I see religious leaders who once had fortitude, who once stood up for the poor and the poor and the oppressed. I see them sell out now for our COVID relief grant. 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, 1 million. I see the churches sell out for grants. And first, Hitler know how to control all you. Hitler announced, I have $10 million that I will give out to the churches and they will deal with those who have need. All your wicked church leaders also. All you who sell out for money, wicked. You know why? I spent 4 years. I went to school every single day for 2.5 years, from 7:30 in the morning to 2:30 in the evening, studying theology. And let me tell you something. I could stand up and boast anyway. I graduate there. And you know what? The pass mark was 80. You could have only do 2 makeups, and those makeups cannot fall below 50%. And you only had the option for 2. Anytime, and let me tell you something, it was daily exam, weekly exam, midterm exam, and monthly exam. That is what it was. It was hours, night and day studying to graduate. Yeah, I could be a priest if I want, but I want to be no priest. I will tell you why next time. But let me tell you something. The love of money is the downfall at this country. Let me tell you something with we people. And gongs man, you know I always had to talk to you on the gong. And man said the other day, Victor was have to learn to cross his T's and dot his I's, because my language is so whatever you want to call it. But that don't shake me. That don't move me. All your negative comments on Facebook don't move me. Tell all you already, I am a strong individual. You can't control me, you can't brainwash me. Worst again, you can't mama guy me. And let me tell you something. The love of money is all the downfall. Let me talk to you on the streets, my African brother. Let me forget the Indian for now. I'll come back later now. My African brother on the streets, my Creole. Let me tell you something. You know why you in that condition without anything? You will find some of them on social media saying, all they ain't want nothing, and all they lazy, and the youths in want this, and the youths in want that. Don't study them. Don't study them and that idiotic talk. Them business fix, and let me tell you what they don't want. They don't want to see you on the streets driving a wet man, much less to drive a Audi. They don't want you to drive a wet man. Street boy, you know what I'm talking about. You know wet man is Tida, you know that. They don't want you to drive a wet man. Let me tell you something. Your neighbor right next door to you, yes, the Creole. Let him see you start to cut a piece of land and get some galvanized and drop some blocks, especially if your house is board. And you go see how fast the authorities reaching by you. They don't want you to rise. They don't want you to be equal to them. All of them radio announcers on all them radio stations who propagating PNM and telling you, African, we have to unite. Watch. Ask them to unite with the money now. Go and ask them for a donation now. Go and tell them, boy, in the pandemic, me have food, boy. As a PNM, I want something to eat. And see what they will give you. Go and tell them, hey, my child, I no milk, boy. I belongs to Hitler party, boy. I need something. And see what they will give you now. See if they call the police and say, trying to break in the house and send it to jail. I see a magistrate jail a man 2 years for some mango. I ain't go comment on that. I wouldn't. But I just want to say it. I just want to say the people who are supposed to be in jail is some of them politicians that run in this country now. But they don't want you to get up. Little black boy, little nutty head, danda diggy head. They don't want you to get up. They want you to remain right there. They don't want you to drive a wet man. They don't want to see you have a house like them. They don't want to see you upgrade your status in life. So they will propagate every ideology to keep you down on the ground. My job is to make you get up, boy. My job is to wake you up. My job is to let you know that you don't have to be black to be behind. My job is to let you know that the public purse belongs to you too. Little than the head, it belongs to you too. Don't let them fool you and feel that the government funds is for Rowley and the cabinet. That is public money. That is for you. That is to help you. But they don't want you to rise. Let me show you how clever it is and how wicked it is. Listen this. Black boys are talking to you now, you know. I just tell you I ain't talking to the Indian yet. But I was talking to the Indians in the PNM. If they want to suck up the shame and take this kind of discrimination because they're looking for $1, then let us stay there and dare to. Let us take that. Let she tell them worse than that. Because when she degrade and disgrace one Indian, it's supposed to be you disgrace all. That is how it's supposed to be. But let me read this. Let me read this document here. Hear this. Black boy are coming back to you here now. Gaspy Dolly said almost 2,000 school dropout since the pandemic. So let me get on to business. Approximately 2,000 students appear to have dropped out of the education system since TNT COVID-19 pandemic battle began in March 2020. Education Minister Gaspy Dolly said, the group comprising both primary and secondary school students. She said figures from the school supervisory division for primary and secondary school students whom they have not been able to make contact with stood at around 2,000. Little black boy. Of this number, she said people may have already exited on the school register before, while others may be new. There are approximately 225,000 students enrolled in the primary and secondary school across Trinidad and Tobago. There we go on. Gaspy Dolly said, in an effort to curtail this growing trend, Gaspy Dolly said the Minister of Education is now relying on the community police to help track down the parents of these children who have stopped attending classes. Track them down, Gaspy. Track them down. She said she had spoken to the police service, Ministry of Social Development, and the Student Support Service Division on these matters. So she spoke with the police, she spoke with the social division, and she also spoke with the Social Development Division. In this circumstance, the SSSD officers may find it difficult to conduct home visits, but we do need to locate the students who are not appearing online. Hold it. Hold it right there, Gaspy Dolly. You are saying, let me finish reading. So she said, we are not rich to locate the students who are not appearing online or collecting package. So we have developed a protocol, and now these people and them is mad people. We can have the formal intervention of the community police, but not to lock up parents, she told Guardian Media in an online interview. Gaspy Dolly. Gaspy Dolly. Producer, let me take a 1 minute break right here. Let me take a 1 minute break right here, producer, before I deal with Gaspy Dolly. We coming back.
Blessings to all. Welcome to Facts, Not Fiction. Join me Thursday the 27th at 6 p.m. sharp for another Facebook Live as we discuss facts, not fiction. I'm out of here.
Welcome back, Gaspy Dolly. Somebody tag her. Somebody let her know that Victor Roberts going and deal with a situation here. A very serious situation. Little black boy, keep your eyes focused and keep your ears open. Listen what's happening here. So Gaspy Dolly said that these people, they are not appearing on the online classes. Miss Gaspy Dolly, Minister of Education. First, I want to ask you, which part you went to school? I want to ask you, where you graduate? I want to also ask you, if you have a degree, I want to ask you where you get it. Yeah, I'm inquisitive, I'm fast. I want to know if it's one of them degrees that you could pay for, or one of them degrees that you could really study and earn. Because from what I'm seeing here, Gaspy Dolly, from what I am seeing here, something had to be wrong. Because your ministry put out on a document stating that in 2020, there is over 65,000 children that have no device. 65,000 children have no device. But you put out on a document here that the teachers not seeing these students on online classes. Well, boy, watch. Let me tell you something. Something really had wrong with all in Trinidad and Tobago. Something Patrick Manning say, all it takes to be a minister is common sense and a level head. But it seems as though that all you who is operating under the Hitler regime, all you have neither of the two. It seems as though all you have no common sense and all you have no level head. Because if your ministry is saying that 65,000 children have no devices, how come you now saying that you're getting in contact with the police and social development and whoever to go and find these children who not coming on the online classes? Something wrong with all your brain. Something wrong with all your brain, and I know it's not COVID. Something wrong with all your brain. So we have 65,000 with no device. You have 20,000 that all you say, all you can't find. So when you put that together, out of 225,000, when you Do your maths. You will realize that all we have out of that figure is 158,000 children in both secondary and primary school getting some kind of education. So you know what that tells you? I said last week. We are having a bunch of dunce head children. I tell you that last week. A bunch of dunce head children. But what all you fail to understand is not by the children own doing, is by the administration that is being led by Hitler that have our children dunce head today. Dunce head. Kamla Pasad Bisasa. Say laptop for everybody. Tom, Dick, Harry, Patsy. Everybody. You know why? Little black boy, you know why? Don't let Hitler them lead you. Because this woman knew for a fact that 2020 going forward would have been the computer age. This Kamla Pasad Bisesa knew in order for us to compete and have a chance in society, we had to be 2020 develop. So Kamla say laptop for all. Hitler came in and say laptop for none. You know why? Because Hitler know that if you becomes educated, he will not be able to use you anymore to stay in power. Listen me, black boys. Listen me. The big gold chain, not going to cut it now, you know. The 50 ring on your hand, not going to cut it now, you know. That ain't going to cut it. That might only allow your head to get cut off. You people, you African brothers and sisters, you have to now start to look for economical power. That is what you have to look for. You have to be up to the par in times. You have to jump in a new game. You have to jump in the game to educate your children. It doesn't matter if you fall short. You have to stop the generation curse. You have to now do what is necessary to educate your children. Don't let Hitler continue to use you. Don't let Hitler give you a 10 days and send you on a CPEP contract. You can't even get the contract, you could just be a worker. That is what they do to you. The Indians is not your enemy. The enemy is those who perpetrate race or racial tension in this country. They are the enemy. The one who telling you don't take nothing for the Indian, that is your enemy. The one who telling you the Indian don't have your interests at heart, that is your enemy. The one who telling you them Indian keep them out of power, that is your enemy. You examine when the Indians was in power. You examine. Take your time. Don't let nobody tell you. You examine what they had done for you as the black man in this country. Schools all over the PNM constituency, schools. The Indian constituency too. Across the board. Employment across the board. All earlier was living. You know what now? A selective few living. And that selective few is who they are using to perpetuate this racial tension within this country, not to keep the Indians down, you know. Don't be fooled, black boys. This is not to keep the Indians down, you know. This what is being perpetrated against you is to keep you down. This have nothing to do with the Indian people. You want to face facts? Let me face facts. Examine your constituency. Check it out. You walk around in your constituency while you have time. And I want while you're walking, you must ask yourself one question. Why after 47 years of this black government, why am I still in this condition? I want you to do that for yourself. Don't ask your mother. Don't ask your father. You ask yourself. Because let me tell you something. Your mother and father will only give you advice to what them support. I want you, little black man, to be independent in your thinking. Think outside of your parents. You think for yourself. Ask yourself, why my mother and father never own a good house? After the support this black man party, ask yourself that. Ask yourself, why today, after we support this black man party for 47 years, we still don't have a home? We still don't have a job? Ask yourself, don't let nobody think for you. You have a mind. God created that inside the skull that you have to utilize it. You ask yourself, walk on your community, ask yourself, this is the black man constituency. Why am I still in this condition after 47 years? And then compare that with the Indian people constituency. And ask yourself, how come this constituency so developed in a matter of 10 years? Ask yourself that question and you will find the answers. You know why? I will tell you why today. And I just talk without fear or favor. The Indian constituencies are much more developed than your constituency. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because the Indian people who represent the Indian constituencies, they understood what representation is all about. That is the difference. They understand representation is to move the standard of living with those persons who I represent to a higher heights. And that is why you could pass in every constituency that was controlled under the UNC, and you will see mass development and mass different, unlike the African constituencies. You know what the African people do in our constituency? They represent the self. They represent the family. And they represent the good friend. So when you go within these African constituencies, you check out the lineage of those who were placed, who you vote for to move your standard of living. You know what they do to you? They send your standard of living backward. Don't get vexed with the messenger. Understand the message. They send you backward and keep you at the place where you have to always depend on them. So that is why you will always hear in our constituencies people saying, I'm trying to get in contact with Mr. McClashy, but he didn't answer any phone. Mr. McClashy tell we he will do this for we, but look how much years gone, 1 term gone, 2 term coming, nothing happening. The lady tell us that she would have do this and she never do it. You will hear that in your constituency, that the African control, because they place you in the land of promise. And when they leave you in the land of promise, all you could do is only promise your children, your offsprings. You could only promise. And that is what happened in the African constituency. We live a life of promise. And we get so good at it that we know promising with children, even though it cannot materialize, we still promise. Don't worry, daddy will do this for you. Don't worry, daddy will do that for you. Don't worry, now get daddy a little time. That is what we resort to, a life of promises. So don't allow them to confuffle your intellect. Don't let them do that. You think, little black boy, you think. Time is still of the essence. You could still make that change. You could make that decision. You could decide that from today onward, I am going to make myself someone. I am going to elevate my thinking. And I am going to make decisions that will help me. Listen, when you put a party in power, unlike the idiots who full of money in the PNM, I doesn't even want to call the name. I calling them that party. I even want to call the name. You will realize that they will always put up on social media. Why you ain't go and work and get your own? Why you ain't go and look for your own? Why you ain't do this? They will never put up something that will help you to climb the ladder. They will never tell you, well, boy, look, I think you could try this. Try and enroll here. Try and do this here. There's a lot of things that I'm doing right now that I never believe that I would have been able to do and accomplish. But the time ain't reached yet for me to tell you. I want to let you continue thinking about me, how will you feel until such time. But listen, they will not give you an advice to encourage you and to build you. They will not lift you up. And you have to be able, as individuals that living in these depressed communities, that living below the poverty level, you have to be able to understand that the mechanism of that party is to keep you right there so that they can benefit off of you. I am saying the time has come that we must change that. The time has come that we must stand together and we must elect a government to work on behalf of us. And let me tell you this. If and when we elect the UNC and they start to play the fool, then it's our job to get rid of them too. We are not going to allow any government going forward to come into office and promise and not deliver. That is how politics must now come. Every government, we must hold them accountable. So when we elect the UNC, whether it be by the next election or before, we must hold the UNC accountable. This mustn't be no kind of fanatic party believer issue. This must be, we elect you to perform. And if you don't perform, you get up and you get out. And that is what I am calling on you, the citizens of this country, to take a position to tell Keith Christopher Rowley and a bunch of idiots who continue to mismanage, who continue to abuse, who continue to use, who continue to benefit off of you. Time is of the essence. We must stand together and tell Keith Christopher Rowley that we have enough, and it's time for them to get out of office and ease the pressure, the pain that they continue to burden you down and to suppress you. Time for Rowley to go. That is the call. That is the call. Resign. Pack up. Get out. You have failed in every aspect. Time for you to take your leave. Ladies and gentlemen, as I wrap up, let me tell you something today. All the critics All them so-called social media activists who comes on and tell you, Kamla this, and Kamla that, and Kamla the other. Let me tell you something. You believe that any one of them have your interests at heart? Let me tell you what them fellas after. Them fellas after power. Them fellas after the public purse. All this fancy talk and nice talk I tell you last week. When Kamala turn reach and she demit office, the next leader who take over, who I am going to support, you will hear the same cry. Whoever he or she is, you will hear the same cry. Waste of time. Time to go. Time to go. But guess what? All of them who bad talking Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Kamla Prasad Bisesa not in office. You just share the kind of fake bad talk, they just bad talk Hitler. 2x4 fake. Oh, you dissatisfied and I will embarrass him with that statement and all them that idiotic thing. A pack of idiots. A bunch of idiots. And sometimes I see some of my friends and all jumping in and making some kind of statement. They come on, friends, you know who you are. Make brighter statements and that. All they must be able to see through things. See through who have the interests of this country at heart and see through who just looking for political power. Victor Roberts. It matters not to me. Listen me good. It matters not to me whether I am a candidate or not. It matters not. You know why? Let me tell you why. I am concerned about my country. I'd rather be a candidate to do what I have to do. You hear what I'm telling you? So get out in a good pipe and smoke it. I do what I do from my side of here. That is where it come from. Not unlike some earlier. As all you can get all the way all about talk Kamla. As all you can get a position all you want to kill Kamla. As Kamla reject all kind of thing to say. Sit down in a corner man and read a book or do as Rowley said man. Look for some 30 grams or plant 3 trees and manage it or something and leave Kamla alone. Now Kamla have time to tell you. The qualities of Kamla, look, I even touch that, or look, I even walk in that shoe. Kamla is a distinguished woman. A woman with class, a woman who produce statesmanship while holding the office of Prime Minister. Something that you can't get under Hitler. Hitler disrespect all you. He call all kind of 4-footed thing. He tell all you all kind of thing. He tell all you all kind of thing. Hitler tell all you all kind of thing, and all like a bunch of idiots talking about greatest Hitler and what? Greatest what? People get serious. Get serious. Let me work this thing out. My job, I will continue to do what to do to help all you. Let us work this thing out and let Hitler know that it's time for him to go. Let Hitler know it's time for him to go. Just like I go on. See you all next week.